Kings, as we are going through the process of coming back to the King to become kings, I think it's a really good idea to study the life of King David. King David, he's my favorite character, human being in the whole Bible. I relate to him more than anyone else. As we're looking at these cycles of life and the concept of identity, there's no one else, there's no other man in the Bible that exemplifies, illustrates this process more closely, more like better than King David, because we can see these cycles play out in his life, right? He's living this normal life, and then he's called to be king. He receives the call, and then he has this initial victory against Goliath, and he's receiving this. And that's I wrote an article not that long ago, well, actually really long ago, called The Success Process. That's part of the success process. You set out to do something new, and you get this immediate victory, this immediate taste of success, usually. And then you get plunged straight into the testing period. And that's what happened for him. He's on the run. He's fighting for his life for however many years. He's hiding out in a cave. And then finally, he is king. He gets the crown. Right? And that's all great, fine and dandy. He's victories left and right, but there's still battles, of course. And then he makes a mistake, sleeps with some freaking random woman, slips up and murders her husband, just one of those random slip-ups. What are we beating ourselves up for? When's the last time you murdered someone? I haven't done that in the longest time. And then his life is completely torn apart by God. Now we could say it was torn apart by Absalom, his son, and this and that, but ultimately it's the judgment of God. And ultimately it's for his good, because then we see him come back. After the testing is over, he comes back to the palace, regains his throne, and his crown plays back on his head. And then he rules in peace until he brings his son, Solomon, the greatest, the most wisest man in the history of the universe. And if you look at the life of the Jews, the Hebrews, the Israelites, whatever they're called technically, I don't know, really. The reign of Solomon, David's son, is the most prosperous, greatest, wealthiest, most peaceful time period in the history of those people, that country. I'm talking from then on. It doesn't get any better than that. It's actually all downhill from there. So, that being said, let's look at Psalm 89. Talking about how great God is. God, you are great. You made the world, and the world is awesome, and you've made me great. But then we get to verse 38. But, let's back up. No, let's not back up. But, so great, you're great, you made me great, but you have cast off and rejected. You have profaned his crown and the dust. You have broken down all his walls. You have brought his strongholds to ruin. You have also turned back the edge of his sword, his effectiveness, his power. and you have not made him stand in battle. Are you standing right now? A lot of you are. You better give God the glory, because he is making you stand. Be careful, you who stand, lest you fall. What is that verse? You who stand, be careful, lest I'll look it up. Blah, blah, blah. You've not made him stand in battle. You have made his splendor to cease and cast his throne to the ground. You've covered him with shame. Where are your former loving kindnesses? You know, we've got that crown upside down in our name, Comeback Kings. You know, my original name in the industry was the King of Wholesale, and life was great. Where'd that crown go? Got cast down, turned upside down. And just like Doc said yesterday, we are all coming back from something, right? Meaning we're all in a process of healing. We're all in a process of that journey back to childhood, unwinding all the lies, the stories that we've told ourselves throughout our lives to protect us from the elements of this world that is traumatic, just entering it. And coming back to that childlike state without which we will never enter the kingdom of God, and ultimately entering a state of, childlikeness, sons of God, kings. It's interesting that it talks about tearing down his walls. So my last house, when everything was just deteriorating completely. And it's interesting how if you look around at your life, your outward life will kind of mirror what's happening in your life. So if stuff's breaking down in your house and your car's breaking down and everything's breaking down, maybe take a look at yourself, right? The house was completely just falling apart right around me. This brand new house. So in the backyard of this home, it had this concrete wall and it was covered with vines, and it was not new. It was an old wall, brand new house, but old wall. Back when they actually made things that would stand, it had iron rods going down into the freaking core of the earth. There's no moving this wall. My family, we come home one day and I'll put pictures of this and videos. The right half of the wall was crushed. It was knocked over, blown over. I mean, it was impossible. It was smashed. I'm talking, dude, a concrete 6-foot tall wall, wrecked. This is like, there's no explanation. It's impossible. When I went to the part of the wall that's right next to where it had all fallen apart, just to see if it was all wobbly or would move, I couldn't move it. There was no moving it. Right next to where it had just fallen down. How's that possible? I have no idea. But I knew that God was telling me something. I knew, number one, that he was telling me that the walls that I'd built up around me were coming down. I also knew that he was telling me I was going to be moving from that house soon, which I did within 6 months. And I also knew that the door had been opened for the enemy to wreck me, which he did. There's no happy ending to this Psalm in 8 and Psalm 89, but there is in Psalm 91. We're all somewhere in the process. Study the life of King David and then just say to yourself, where am I in this process? Because that's the journey that we're on. I got to go work out. Ask me if I feel like doing this. I took everything in me just to make this video. I don't know why. The resistance, every good thing that I need to do right now, the resistance is just incredible. I'm just like, I don't feel like doing freaking anything. Ain't that right, Millie? Especially take that Christmas tree down.